Okay. Hey, everybody. This is Lewis with WLLF. I'm here with the great, the powerful Akira the Don.
Shabba.
And for the very few people who don't know who you are, Akira, could you kind of tell people who you are and what you do?
Well, shit. That should be a really easy question to ask. I'm Akira the Don, and I make epic music. But what I really do, I guess, is make music that can soundtrack your life in every aspect possible.
Ooh,
So
yeah.
I'm like the world's greatest club DJ. I am though. It's
Oh,
true.
yeah.
So if you want like the ultimate club experience, you can come and watch me club DJ, and it'll be very, very peak. And I make amazing music for you to listen to when you get home from the club, and I make amazing music for you to listen to while you're in the gym, and I make amazing music to listen to while you're making love to the person that you love, and all that type of thing.
Very true.
You know,
Very true.
and I invented Meaningwave as well, which is a psychotechnology I developed to take the wisdom of humanity and embed it in really sticky musical forms so that you can integrate the wisdom of the ages very simply, like Neo in the Matrix when he downloads Kung Fu.
That's right.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. And we were just talking about maybe possibly doing Earthbound. I really want to see what you think, man, because I think you'll be blown away at how beautiful some of the tracks are. I'll send you some and just get your thoughts because I'd
Yeah,
love
man.
to collaborate on that. And I have a billion questions. First, I watched the amazing. If you haven't already watched Akira's documentary, you gotta watch it. It is unbelievable of how I made Meaningwave. Right? Is that the name of the documentary?
Yeah, and it's short. It's like 15 minutes long. Or is it 10 minutes long?
Yeah, super digestible. You gotta watch it. Gotta watch it. I loved it, man. I thought it was so cool. So,
Hey,
um, I,
thanks.
and I want to talk about a couple of the recent videos you did, the Joseph Campbell and the Internet Historian collaboration, because I thought those were badass.
Yeah.
Um, but first, so let me just ask, where were you born,
West Bromwich.
and
West Bromwich is a delightful shithole in the middle of the UK. It's basically, if you've seen Peaky Blinders, it's like where that was set pretty
Oh,
much.
dope.
So it's like the slums of the middle of the UK.
So you're like a modern Peaky Blinders.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
That's my lineage. Well, part of my lineage. There's also like I'm also part Polish.
Oh,
Uh
very cool.
but it's like on the UK side of things, it's the Midlands, it's Birmingham. My nan, who just died, was from Cannock.
Oh.
She was of the infamous Brown clan. She was the eldest of 13. Her dad was a coal miner. She quit school at 13 to start a window cleaning business, and then joined the army, and lied about her age so she could join the army early and be involved in the war effort and all that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And when did you move to the U.S.?
5 years ago. 5 years ago. 5 years ago. It was 5. Yes, it was. It was
There
5 years ago.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And obviously you can see this all in the documentary. And again, you need to see the documentary because it's amazing. But you used to be with Interscope, right? With
Yeah.
Interscope Records.
Yeah.
And then you pulled like a big dick energy move and basically bought out the contract.
Yeah.
And just started doing your own shit and then
Yeah. Well, I had one of my songs was in that My Super Ex-Girlfriend movie.
Oh yeah.
With Uma Thurman. It was the bit where Uma Thurman and Eddie Izzard kiss. They play one of my songs, which is fucking weird. That's such a weird thing to happen. Uma Thurman and Eddie Izzard snogging.
Yeah.
Very
So weird.
strange. But anyway, it's like, yeah, that you get a lot of money for having, well, you at least you do. I don't know if you still do. But yeah, you get a decent amount of money for being in Hollywood movies in moments like that. So I was able to use that money to buy my ship back because, as it goes into a bit more detail in the documentary, Interscope were not happy with the lyrical direction of my record and wanted me to change it. And I did not. And the main thing was that I had no faith in them approving it, even if I did, given that Busta Rhymes was on the label at the same time as me, and he'd recorded 3 albums for them that they'd shelved.
Wow.
And that was Busta Rhymes.
And are they still shelved?
Those albums never came out, yeah.
Whoa. So, and that's crazy. Yeah, I remember you saying that in the documentary. It's like, and that's Busta Rhymes. And
yeah, and Jadakiss had the same problem. Jadakiss was on the label at the time. He had a couple of shelved albums. The Neptunes had a similar problem. They'd signed their Star Trek label to Interscope, and then they weren't releasing their artists. And you realize, you're like, holy shit, when you look at the roster of a major record label at any given time, there's usually like 100 artists, of which maybe 3 are getting a decent attention.
That is so crazy.
A lot of the time with major labels, they sign people to stop other people from getting them. So it's like someone comes along and that person's in some way radical or interesting or something. And sometimes they'll sign people to stop them, A, being signed by someone else, and then B, competing with their existing roster.
That is
so sometimes crazy. They'll sign people and then just stop them for a couple of years and be like, all right, just pause. And then they'll let them out a couple of years later. But then sometimes they sign people and stop them and then never let them out.
Jeez.
So it's a weird thing.
Because I'm a musician, and, growing up, it's like all I ever wanted was to be on a, big major record label or something, or, and then when you're hearing your story, it's like, I mean, you went as so far as to like buy it back almost. I mean, you bought it back.
Yeah.
To be yourself, to be independent again.
Yeah.
Which is just so it's a mind fuck,
Well, I was very early on everything. I put out the first online mixtape. Like when I signed to Interscope, their marketing department were phoning me up going like, at that point, I had a website, I had a blog, I was uploading tracks, I was making mixtapes, and literally no one else was doing that. That was in like 2004. That didn't exist at that point. And they were like, this is amazing what you're doing. We want to roll it out to all our artists. How are you doing this? How are you doing that? I was making animated music videos and putting them on Newgrounds. Before YouTube was a thing. So the way that everything operates now, I was doing that in like 2002, 3, 4. And I think it was my first mixtape did over 1 million downloads in under a month.
Whoa.
But there was no competition. No one else was doing, there wasn't, if you wanted to listen to an hour-long mixtape on the internet, you couldn't. At that point, mixtapes were still CDs. So I didn't have any competition. So it did well very quickly. And then very quickly I was realizing, shit, this record label doesn't offer me very much that I don't already have outside. That it's kind of like it's like a loan with a lot of advisors telling you how to spend your money, Man,
that is so crazy, man.
There's a lot, and there's a lot of great things in record labels, and a lot of people, really great people working in those institutions doing great work.
Yeah.
But they're very slow to be able to react, And culture moves very speedily. Culture moves very fast and increasingly. Like, you remember, I don't know if you remember Chief Keef, like what happened with him. He signed to Interscope. He was like the hottest guy in the streets, Chicago drill artist, like, and they really kind of like watered him down and mainstreamed his sound. And they also took about a year too long to release the record. So by the time they finally did, all of his buzz had sort of died and moved on to someone else. The product they put out was not true to what people liked about him in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of destroyed any chance he had at having like a massive career.
Yeah, it's so crazy. And it's like, well, what do you think of Billie Eilish?
I think Billie Eilish, they're doing a good job with. Billie Eilish is them having learned a lot of lessons. People still think she's independent. The impression people think there's this whole mythology around Billie Eilish that's like, oh, she's, this her and a little brother or brother, and they make all the songs in the bedroom, and it's all very organic and natural and stuff, when in fact they've had major label machinery around them for 4 years.
Yeah.
Like, she was doing Vogue interviews 3 years ago. Like, that's an example of them having learned lessons. So what they do now is they like to present artists and pretend they're independent when they're not, and pretend it's a grassroots thing when it isn't. I remember one of the first times I saw them doing that successfully was with Jessie J.
Okay. Yeah.
She was like a major industry character. She was writing songs for Billy Ray Cyrus's kids. What's her fucking name? With the tongue.
Yeah.
Her name. Miley.
Miley. Yeah.
Old gravel-throated Miley. Talks like this. Miley Cyrus. I love that girl. Bless her. But yeah, Jessie J wrote "Party in the USA" for her.
Yeah, I remember that.
She was a big behind-the-scenes person. And then there was this little wave of videos of Jessie J singing covers on YouTube. And it was like it was shot kind of like this with a webcam.
Mm-hmm.
And she's in a bedroom. And they made it look like it was this viral sensation, this completely natural thing. And they shot her busking and stuff and pretended it was just her and her friends.
Yeah.
And everyone bought it. And it blew up and did very well. But it was all, this orchestrated.
Damn, I didn't know that.
Thing. Yeah. So yeah, Billie Eilish is a similar thing. Billie Eilish is a major operation doing a good job at making a thing look organic.
So
but, she's got some very good records. She's got some, like, that album is really, really well produced. It's a really well produced record. It sounds really good. It's got really good songwriting on it. Like, a couple of years ago, I've been talking about this this shift from the psychedelic to punk, this 7-year cycle that happens in our society. You can witness it. Once you notice it, you can't unnotice it. Culture swings from psychedelic to punk essentially every 7 years and back again. And we're currently about to hit the peak of punk. No, what happens is the drugs change, the visuals of things get darker, and people start taking speed and coke and this, what was it this year? Not this year, this cycle, it was Xanax.
Yeah.
And
that's true.
Clothes get darker, and gothic imagery and horror imagery permeates the culture. And a couple of years ago, I was saying, like, the summer of 2019, the biggest star will be like a goth girl who like eats spiders and shit.
Really?
And that's literally what happened with Billie Eilish. Her poster campaign was her eating a spider. It was hilarious.
Yeah.
And at the time I was going, look, here it goes. And people are going, oh yeah, but that's not major. I was like, this is major. That's a major label thing. It's going to be like the pop hit of the summer. Little girls are going to be emulating it. And lo, it was. So if Billie Eilish is to stay on top, you can predict that she will start being less goth and less punk and start going softer and sweeter. I suspect she'll start like doing sexy stuff soon.
Really? Yeah.
That'll be the next thing.
It makes sense. It makes sense.
They always do that with these child star type things.
Where they start off where it's like not so revealing, because she is pretty young. And then
she is.
And then she's always just wearing like a large shirt, and then all of a sudden she just gets sexier and sexier.
They're gonna turn her sexy next year, I think.
Oh man. I got the prediction. That's the prediction. So I wanted to ask you about Be Me Play Minecraft.
Yeah.
Akira the Don, an internet historian, and I did not, crazy enough, I did not know internet historian until you did that video, and then I looked him up, and I was like, holy shit, man, this guy is like, it makes sense why you guys are working together. But can you like talk about the video a little bit, like like explain it a little bit, what it is, and then like kind of like story behind it a little bit?
Well, so let's say the internet historian. Then he's an internet legend character. It's this funny thing in the way it is now, right? You can have people who are immensely popular and influential, and then most of the world won't have heard of them.
Yeah, it's so crazy,
Yeah.
man.
Like for the people who know who internet historian is, he's a superhero. And he has a massive channel. He's, I don't know how many subs he's got. I suspect it's in the million or whatever range. His videos are huge. And what he does is he's the internet historian. He looks at like legendary internet things, year 2000, TanaCon, whatever it is, Fire Festival type situations. And he does these beautiful sort of sardonic documentaries about them. And his sense of humor is like, it reminds me of Chris Morris. I don't know if any of you know Chris Morris, but Chris Morris was a British satirist. He still is. He did Blue Jam. He had a bunch of TV shows and radio shows in the 90s in the UK. He had a show on Radio 1, and he would do things like announce that the Prime Minister was dead and ring people up and ask them what they thought about it. And then it turned out to be not true. He was this like half troll, half satirist, like pre-internet genius. Very funny, very, very smart. Anyway, internet historian stuff reminded me of him. And he has a great documentary about, who's that kid from Indiana Jones?
Wait, which one? Which Indiana Jones?
The kid in the Crystal Skull.
Is it
Shia LaBeouf.
Oh.
Shia LaBeouf. He has a great documentary about Shia LaBeouf and his "He Will Not Divide Us" thing.
Yes.
He's really good at documenting 4chan operations and stuff. But anyway, one day my socials were blowing up. My channels were blowing up because it turned out he'd snuck in a couple of frames of some of my music in one of his videos. Just a couple of frames, just for a split second. But everybody's like, thousands of people saw this, were all messaging me like, so it turned out he was a fan, and we got in touch, and I was like, we should do something. And he had the idea to read some green texts. And if you don't know what green texts are, it's a thing that came out of the chans wherein anonymous people write stories. And they're usually stories about embarrassing or sad things that happen to them. Sort of emotionally devastating things. And they're always written in this format that's like, be me, be 16, go to school, girl doesn't like me, I get a boner, very embarrassing, whatever the hell it is. So he read a few of these and sent them to me, and I turned them into songs. And that was that. It was as simple as that. And that was about a year and a half ago, something, maybe a bit longer. Anyway, someone hit me up on Facebook called James, a young man called James, and he said, I love this stuff. And he also hadn't heard of Internet Historian until that music, and then really got into it. But he was like, I've got this idea for a video. I'd really love to make it. What do you think? And he showed me the outline and all that. And I was like, yeah, that's great. And then didn't hear anything for over a year. And I forgot about it. And then the first week of January, I was like, oh, yeah, I wonder what happened with that. And then the next day he emailed me and said, here it is. What do you think? And it was wonderful. And he'd shot this incredible music video about that, just like literally went into the story of this boy who was just spending his whole life playing Minecraft and didn't have any friends or a girlfriend. And his father, who was so sad and disappointed and washed with sorrow and all this type of thing. Anyway, he just made this really beautiful video that kind of literally told that story, then added on this extra dimension to it that you'll see if you watch it. It's very beautiful.
I loved it, man.
I was really proud of that guy because he was like, he got all his buddies, he got his school friends, he got a whole fucking school. If you watch the video, like the extras and stuff on it it's like Game of Thrones level. It's got like 200 extras or something.
So awesome, man.
And a load of mobs. My son, who's very into Minecraft, was really excited by this.
Nice, dude. That's awesome. Yeah, I was so happy to see that. And And I started watching internet historian videos, and now I'm like addicted to them. So
Yeah.
thank you for that, because Jesus Christ, he just released a video, I think almost around the same time that you released yours or something, where it was the No Man's Sky. I don't know if you saw that.
I love that. It was such a. It's nice when you get one with a happy ending.
Yes,
You know,
yes,
a
and
tale of redemption, like the
yes.
hero's journey, the hero, the you know the sea quest that they went through. It's beautiful. It's basically like the opposite of what happened with Red Dead Online.
Red Dead Online.
Well, that's just like color going to shit. Like it doesn't even work currently. If you want to play like Red Dead is like the only game I really like and play. It's like I would get back from DJing and I play that for a bit because like you could just hunt or something. It's nice. Get back from DJing, sit down, go hunt some deer in a video game. You
Mhm.
can't even hunt now. Like there's no animal spawns in the game. It's just broken. If you want to play the game, you have to go through this ridiculous hacks to like set up a camp at a place and travel 8 miles, and you basically have to do like half an hour of shit just to play the game for like 10 minutes.
Oh man.
It's the opposite of the Dead Man's Sky story, where they, you know, it started just really badly and then they fixed it. They fixed it. Whereas, you know, Red Dead, it kind of started all amazing and then it just gradually got worse.
Yes, yes. Oh my God. Yeah, and I honestly I was not because he's so satiristic, where and he's unpredictable. So I was thinking like, oh, he's just hammering them and just killing them, and there's no hope. There's no hope. Like what now? I just hate No Man's Sky. I'll never buy it. You know, like halfway through, I was like, this is like, and fuck that guy, the creator or whatever. I was like, fuck that guy. And then it starts becoming this. You start, you know, you
see it from their side.
Yes.
You see the development, the struggles that the team were going through. Then you see their reaction to and how they dealt with it. And yeah, it was amazing. I mean, I was one of the people who was very excited about Dead Man's Sky. Like, you know, it ticked all my boxes, like open world, explore the galaxy. Like, it seemed like in theory, it would be the greatest game of all time. And then it came out and it was like, oh, fucking what? What is this shit? And then they fixed it. What a wonderful thing. For like no extra money.
Exactly. That's the other thing too, is that they're not, you know, nickeling and diming you like EA Sports always does or whatever.
Yeah, and Rockstar.
And Rockstar, exactly.
Is doing
the same Rockstar. So I wanted to ask you about
much as I love Rockstar and I'm very grateful to them for their contributions to humanity, they've created some of the best artworks that exist in our time, that exist in all time, in fact.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was remembering the other day. I used to play Grand Theft Auto with my grandma. Well, I say used to. I mean, it happened a few times, but like, she was very against swearing. And then we're playing Grand Theft Auto, and she's like gleefully running people over while the guy like drops F-bombs all over the place. And I'm like, why is it okay for like this to be? She's like, well, I know it's only a game. It's not real life. While gleefully running people over and shooting up policemen.
It like releases your inhibitions, you know.
Awesome.
So for, because I've followed you for a while, been a fan for a long time. So you seem to have changed flow state, because there was a different point. So I kind of want to ask you about, what are your thoughts on flow state, your current flow state? Because I think a year ago you were going so insanely hard. I mean, you were releasing, not that you're still releasing a lot, but I feel like it's not quite as much, or it seems like your flow state has changed. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I've been running an experiment. We're nearly at the 2-year mark.
Yeah.
So mid-February 2018, on the advice of James Altucher, who said quadruple down on what's working.
Yeah.
I was like, right, let me quit. Well, this Meaningwave stuff people seem to really like it. So I'm going to quadruple down on that. And what if I tried well, two things. One, I used to be a music journalist, and I noticed the phenomenon where a band's first album would often be fantastic, and the second album would be dreadful.
Yes.
And I was like, why is this? And I realized it was because you'd be in a band and you'd be practicing in the garage all the time and playing gigs and writing songs, and then you make an album, and then suddenly, so you've been in this flow state and in this zone.
Yeah.
And then the record label sends you on tour for a year or something, and it disrupts that thing. And then you come back and they're like, right, now you've got to write an album. And the bands had forgotten how to write an album. I was friends with The Darkness, and that's exactly what happened to them. I don't know if you know that band. Get Your Hands Off My Woman, Motherfucker. They were like a marvelous cock rock band. They were brilliant. Everything they wrote was a masterpiece. And then that happened to them. They got sent off on tour, and they all got into drugs and things and fell out with each other. And then when they came back together to try and make a new album, they'd kind of forgotten how.
Oh.
So anyway, so I was like, well, how's about me? Oftentimes I'd get in the zone and it'd be brilliant, and then I'd get out of the zone. I'd have to get back in again. I was like, what if I just got in the zone and then stayed in the zone?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, how could you do that? Well, I figured, well, basically the only way of doing that is just keep fucking working. So then that means I have to be hyper productive. And then it's like, well, what's that? So it's like, I have to be maximizing my productive time. I need to stop wasting any time. I have to look at areas where I'm wasting time and remove that. And I need to increase my productivity. And when I finish a project, I don't rest. I keep moving and go straight into the next project.
Mm-hmm.
So I keep riding that wave and keep that energy building. I've got to reduce friction wherever there's friction. I've got to keep retooling this process to get ever more productive and ever more deep in this zone. And so I've been doing that for almost 2 years, and it's been working great. But yeah, modifications as I go along. At one point, I was releasing a video every single day on YouTube.
That was ridiculous.
Yeah, and the problem with that was I'd be up until 5 a.m. every night, like making sure there was a video for next day.
Yeah.
While at the same time making the albums and all the other things. I'm actually now producing more than I was then, but I'm just releasing on YouTube less. So I've stopped doing the daily uploads on YouTube, just primarily because what I was doing was like feeding the YouTube algorithm.
Yeah.
For the sake of feeding the YouTube algorithm, and it wasn't really rewarding me. I don't know if I've been like blacklisted on there or something, but like, anyway, it's just, but you know, I have this vast and ever-growing audience now. It's like Spotify. I think we have 130,000 listeners a month currently.
Yeah,
which is
I think
fantastic.
You have more,
What's that?
I said I think you have a little bit more actually.
Yeah, but anyway, so it's like
that's awesome.
Yeah, so it's just like working, like I was saying, it's an idea of working out where to best spend your time and energy, because that is finite. Yeah, you know, so I was putting loads of it into YouTube. I'm putting less of it into YouTube now, but I still put things on YouTube. Obviously, you know, there was 3-4 things last week, and it's a fantastic platform, and I'm very grateful to be able to use it.
Yes.
You know, but I'm just not allowing it to use me.
There you go.
That's the thing. That's what you just got to keep paying attention to. There's a great Twitter account called Amuse Chimp that hasn't updated for like 2 years, but every tweet is fantastic. One of them was, you know, are you using the computer or is the computer using you? Which is very simple to the point of almost being trite, but it's a good thing to keep in mind.
Yes, absolutely. You know? And there was another video that you posted, I think a few weeks ago, where I was like, I'm quitting YouTube. And
yeah,
I wanted to ask you about that because I watched it and I was like, oh shit, I hope not. I hope this isn't true, but I don't know if it, what is the state of, because I think you were talking about.
Did you get to the end of it? Because it says at the end, it's kind of it was like a deliberate, it was an exercise. I was like, oh, okay, what if I do a video with a really like YouTube-y thumbnail and a really clickbaity headline and like YouTube video format, like talking to the camera, edited bits of memes and stuff. I'd never done one of those. That's true. I was getting really pissed off with YouTube because I was putting out videos every single day like you're supposed to, and they had really high engagement, but they were just showing them to less and less people, even though the engagement was like ridiculously high. You'd have like a video with like 1,000 views and 800 likes or something. It's like stupid.
Yeah,
But anyway,
yeah.
so I did that
Brings
video and I
context.
was like, I'm quitting YouTube. And then I get a letter from 12-year-old me who tells me that I'm a fucking
Yeah.
entitled, whiny
Yes,
bitch.
yes, yes.
And then at the end of the video, say, okay, I'm not quitting YouTube. I'm just going to work out a better plan. And
Yes.
that's what that was. But anyway, that video did like 10,000 views in
It
a couple of
did.
days. It was hilarious.
Yes. So I'm like, what is that all about?
Yeah, well, it's
Like,
like, because then you go, okay, am I being punished by the algorithm? Or is it just that like YouTube wants a certain kind of content?
yeah.
And if you're not doing it, then you're not doing. I mean, I don't make traditional YouTube content. I make music and I make Meaningwave.
Right.
So maybe I'm not. Maybe the algorithm doesn't hate me. Maybe I'm just not doing the stuff on YouTube that YouTube wants you to be doing on YouTube, and that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I wanted to know that. I was like, what are your thoughts after that? Because I saw the numbers. I was like, it's kind of crazy that it's like 13K, and then it's like, okay.
Yeah, I think if I sat down and did like a scripted, edited, talking to camera type video every week, it would do very well.
Yeah.
I could do Chris Reagan type stuff or whatever. And but that's just not my focus. My focus is doing Meaningwave and making as much music as higher level and a higher level of usefulness and sort of skill and quality as possible.
Absolutely.
So that's what I've got to focus on, and that means that in some places I won't like do as well as I could or whatever, but it means in other places I'll do better. So that's what I'm doing. We're doing 2 albums a month all year over
Damn.
here.
That's awesome, man.
That's what we're aiming, and I think we should be able to hit that. I mean, I think we did 16 last year.
16 albums?
Yeah.
No, okay. So, because some of them lo-fi mixes, or are all of them?
Some of them are instrumental and some of them are vocal.
Well, but are all of them original works?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah. Anything that's on Spotify or, that's an original work, because obviously I do a mix every week.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I do like a long mix every week, and that could be other people's stuff or my stuff or, whatever it is, themed stuff. Yeah, actually I was going to say to you, I want to do, I'd like to do a live mix of like a bunch of your curated stuff in like one mix type thing.
Yeah.
Since you have a good ear. So I was going to ask you if you could send me over a pool of stuff and then I could do a mix with it.
Of course you can.
That would be cool. But all that stuff's good. That keeps you sharp, So if I sit, I don't know if you can see at the back there, that's my DJ thing. Yeah. So
is it a Kai?
What's that?
Is that an MPK4 or MPK or?
No, that's a Pioneer mixer and a couple of Native Instruments D2 controllers and a Stanton record table and a DJ Tech Tools rotary controller and a Native Instruments F1 beat thing.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, but I sit there for, a couple of hours a week and just fucking do that. That's just keeps you sharp in a certain area. And then I go out and I play in clubs on that setup and do certain kind of stuff. And then I sit here and I make albums. And all of these things combined help keep you, sharp.
Absolutely. 13 albums is so crazy. What's your goal for the year? I mean,
well, this year I'm basically trying to do 2 a month, which would be one vocal and one instrumental.
Okay. And are you doing the vocals?
Well, the vocals would be either, for example, the next album is this Marcus Aurelius album, wherein I'm turning.
Is so smart.
Yeah, so I'm turning meditations into a vast rap pop record that you can sing along to in the gym, in the shower, or whatever the fuck.
Well, that's the other thing that I think is so powerful about your stuff is that you can learn while listen.
Yeah.
And like it's crazy that you're saying the Marcus Aurelius. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but this the stoic genius, because I feel like you have such an amazing hand on you have such a amazing finger on the pulse, because I'm getting into stoicism right now and getting into more discipline, of course, from Jocko and whatnot, and obviously like listen to your stuff. but I feel like you have an amazing pulse, right, or finger on the pulse right now, because that's like, that is, I actually, in my cart right now, I have Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. That's what I'm about to buy and
There you
read.
go. Of course
So
you do.
that's
Yeah, and a lot of people do.
yeah,
You
that's
know, it's like I was
awesome.
saying. You know, part of the zone thing. Well, part of my take on it is you also need to be plugged into culture. Everything is downstream from culture. Who was it? It was Andrew Breitbart or someone who said politics is downstream from culture, but everything's downstream from culture. Like the reverberations of culture echo across the whole of the society. So
Yeah.
that's why I'm not interested in politics and things of that nature. Particularly, I'm interested in culture, and that's what I spend my time on. And that's what I also think you have to stay in touch with. Oftentimes, people, once they get into their 20s or 30s, they sort of disconnect from aspects of culture. They've got stuff going on in their lives or whatever. It's why if you go on YouTube, every music video, the top comment is someone saying that the music in that video was the best music that ever existed. Oh, it was so much better in my day. Whether it
Yeah.
was 1973, 1993, or 2013, you're now seeing. I remember like when Little B came out, the comments would always be, "This isn't real hip hop. Real hip hop was 1993." Which is just the point when I first got my dick sucked, amazingly. And now people are leaving comments. Now people are leaving comments on the Little B video saying, "Oh, this is the real music," because that happened to be when they first got their fucking dick sucked or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Because they then fell out of love with culture. But if you stay in with culture and you keep listening to new music and keep in with culture, then you'll keep creating new connections, and you won't fall into that nostalgic hole, and you'll stay in touch with the world in a useful way, in such a fashion that you can tell what's going on and you can see what's coming. You know, and that's useful.
Yes.
If you're riding the wave of the culture, you can see what's coming. You don't get hit by the fucking rocks or whatever. You don't get
Yeah.
smashed into the ground. You can be a part of the world and you can be useful to the world.
Yes. And I
So
feel like, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, yeah, go. Well, just saying,
Well,
just so that's how I could see that this is the right time to do the Marcus Aurelius record, and I'd been planning it for a year or two because I could see
wow.
that's what's going to be useful, and people
Man,
are going to be ready for it. I used to have the
that's
problem of I
amazing.
used to be far too ahead of my time.
Mm,
Like Kanye West did that Black Skinhead record, which was
yes.
over the glitter beat. I did that 10 years before that.
What do you,
10,
how, like, what do
I
you
had a
mean?
I had a record called London, which was me rapping over the glitter beat in that rap flow
Oh,
that Migos popularized 10 years later. I was doing that in 2003. It was
damn.
wet, and people were not ready for that. The stuff that Little Peep was doing, I was doing 10, 12 years before, and no one was at that point. It was like, who's this fucking weirdo with dyed hair and fucking eyeliner rapping? This is not allowed. You're not allowed to do that. Fuck off. You know, I was far too ahead of my time. What I've been working on lately is like being at a point where it's like useful,
Yeah.
because it's not useful if you're too far ahead. It's not going to be helpful to normies. You want to help normies. Like people are kind of look down on normies or talk down on normies or whatever. It's like normies is most people.
Right.
Do you like people or not? Do you want to be useful to people or not? Do you want to help people or not? Do you want to be a person of your time or not? Do you want to be useful in the world? In which case you need to be reach normies.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
So
um,
that's a part of it. It's a balance of being just far ahead of enough that you're that you're being some kind of a trailblazer and a leader and being useful, but not so far ahead that motherfuckers can't see you or understand you.
so how did you dial your innovation? I don't want to say back. It's almost like changing the frequency, or I don't know.
I think a lot of it was DJing. It was really helpful when I
Oh,
moved
okay.
out. When I moved out here 5 years ago, I was really previously I just DJed sort of sporadically. Then I moved out here and started DJing like 3, 4, 5 nights a week
Hmm.
in in quite mainstream places, and DJing for fucking Justin Bieber at Grammys parties and things like that. And like
Did you?
yeah, so you're
Dude, that is
forced.
awesome.
Yeah, he like jumped up on top of my DJ booth and performed Where Are You Now, I think it was, for the
Yeah.
first time after the Grammys performance.
Damn, that's awesome.
But doing that, you're like, it forces you. I can't be just doing my weirdo futuristic cool shit. I've got to be giving them, 80% what they want and 20% interesting innovation or whatever it is. And maybe you do 60-40 or 70-30, whatever it is. And that taught me that. I learned how I could be useful, and also learned the value of engaging with like popular contemporary culture and harnessing it and paying attention to what it was about it that people liked and resonated with. And, this girls really respond to this kind of thing. Guys really like this, and this plus this equals that. If you play that record plus that record, this will happen, and so on and so forth. So
awesome.
I learned a lot of discipline and humility, from doing that.
It's awesome. I mean, that makes complete sense, especially with DJing in LA for like over and over again, because I know you do it like a lot. So that's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
I have
I'd recommend DJing to anybody, by the way, for what we were just talking about, because it works on multiple levels. It forces you to stay in touch with music in the manner that you did when you were 14.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to be listening to new music every week. You've got to be finding new records to play. You've got to be paying attention to what's popping and what isn't or whatever. And out of that, finding what resonates with you. So you're paying attention to new rhythms, new production trends, things of that nature. At the same time, you've got to be doing your archaic revival shit and digging out cool old records that are going to work. Because like a great DJ set is going to be this combination of something new that excites you and something that you love and know already that brings out that nostalgic feeling, and things of that nature. So it's all these things combined. It forces you to be in touch with that and to be really paying attention. Yeah. So if music is in any way part of your life, having some kind of DJ discipline will really help you. Yeah. Even if you're just going to do like a live stream once a week for your Facebook friends or whatever the hell it is.
I love that, because I've actually been thinking about doing a DJ set as, I guess, Wubba Lo-Fi.
You should.
Oh, thank you. I mean, because I was thinking about that, and because you do it, and that makes sense to what you said, and I have a little bit of an audience, so it would be, I feel like it would be easier to get into places to play if I say, hey, look at my YouTube or whatever.
Yeah, it would. Like say your YouTube's quite sporadic, right? Because you'll like do one big thing and then you'll do something different.
Yeah.
Like doing something like if you did like a regular lo-fi DJ set or whatever, that would be like something regular that you could have that people could come to depend on. And you've got very good taste. One of the most important things for a DJ is probably the most important thing for a DJ is your selector skills. It's the records you choose to play, right? Then it's the order in which you choose to present them or how you present them, and then after that, it's the technical skill. The most important thing is your taste, and you have great taste, so if you were exercising that taste muscle on a regular basis, A, you would get better, B, you would help build your audience, C, you could get yourself a better position within the community. People would look forward to your shit, they'd look to your shit. I don't think there is anywhere currently where you can go and listen to like mixes of the hot new shit within lo-fi that are actually well mixed.
Yeah,
there's lots of compilation playlist style videos. There's great selectors like Bootleg Boy and people like that, and Ryan Celsius and all these Neotic and all these sorts of people who have great taste, and they put together great projects, but no one's really doing like DJ mixes.
Yeah,
which is one of the things I've been doing, but it's obviously not my main focus. It's a thing that I do and it helps keep me sharp, but there's definitely room for people to come in and really go in on that.
That's badass. Well, I mean, I'm gonna take that advice because the other advice that you gave me was, because I asked you and you were very kind to look at it, and you said you should split, because I think you saw that I was doing like web design with lo-fi, and then you said, hey, you should just split it and just have lo-fi and have web design on another channel.
Yeah.
And I was really hesitant to do that for like, I think that's what kind of stunted my progress for about 9 months, 10 months, because I was like,
Oh shit.
Yeah, I didn't do it for 9 or 10 months, really bad. But when I did do it, finally, I actually gained about 1,000 subscribers.
Oh wow.
And so, thank you for that. I
Yeah,
appreciate
it
your
makes sense.
advice.
I mean, just looking at your channel now, it's like, yeah, it's like you're like Zelda mix with like nearly 1 million views or something, then
Yeah,
uh talking video with 140 or
exactly.
something, and then another Zelda mix with thousands of views, and then something else, da da da. Now I remember there was I think it was only a year or so ago, some Nintendo and Chill channel popped up,
Yeah,
which was something I'd been thinking about doing and hadn't done, because you know you have all these ideas and then you don't do them. Then
right.
someone else will do them. If you ever have an idea and it's a good idea, if you don't do it, someone else
Yeah.
definitely will.
Oh,
You know?
absolutely, my man.
And that
Absolutely.
channel just does that. They just do
Yep.
fucking Nintendo lo-fi videos. And it really does really well, because anyone who looks at one of those videos then goes to the channel. It's like, oh, more of this thing that I like. All right, I'll subscribe. And it just gives you more of what you like, you know? So that's one way that you can build, like, and I've seen it work for people over and over and over. What was the other guy? There was someone guy who popped up just like a year ago doing synthwave videos, and they just all have these very elegant covers,
Mm,
and they just do
mm.
synthwave mixes. And
Axion?
each, what's that?
Axion?
Maybe I can't remember his name. But each video's got a brilliant. He started the channel as a way to get design work, because he does the thumbnails,
Oh, wow. Okay.
and they're all very beautiful. So each mix is called, like, you know, Utopia, Fast
Yes.
Car,
Okay. Okay.
whatever.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
they've
Yeah.
got a beautiful thumbnail, and they've got some synthwave music, and he just does
Yes.
that. And he went, now there are, you know, he's hundreds of thousands on each mix, or pretty quickly, because he was so fucking consistent and just did that one thing.
Yes.
That is a thing that you can do and does work for some people.
And
People like consistency.
absolutely, absolutely, man. That's why I was like so inspired by you, because you were like the king of consistency in my opinion. I mean, that's because you just did it so hard for so long, or you're still like going amazing in terms of consistency. And the other thing I wanted to ask real quick is like, I have like a list of, I don't want to say greatest hits from Akira the Don, but they're like, I have a thing about, it's it's like the dark horse greatest hits of Akira the Don or something like that. I don't know. It's there's some there a couple of the selections are kind of tear jerkers in a way.
Mhm.
And uh, like there's Theo Vaughn's "Saw My Dad in a Dream."
Mhm.
There's Joey Diaz's one,
Yeah.
and there's a specific Jordan Peterson Wave 6 that I want to talk about. And there's the Call to Adventure, the more than who you are.
Mhm.
But it's like they're not all like this, but I for some reason I really really love and gravitate towards kind of like the tearjerker lo-fi mixes. I don't know what it is, it's just my personal preference, but I love it, man. I like the Joey Diaz one, where he's talking about his life and stuff. And I was that one needs more love. I don't know why that doesn't have millions and millions of views, because it is so, my brother who loves I love Joe Rogan. My brother loves Joe Rogan. He watched it. He started just crying because he says such a connection with Joey Diaz. And and like, for example, like on Jordan Peterson Wave 6, there's a track near like 29 minutes that talks about Jordan Peterson's he was talking about his a person that was dealing with a suicide.
Yeah.
So I really want to ask um, what was your state like when you were making that part of that mix? I don't know if you can remember, but
Yeah, I do remember. I was crying a lot. They're very difficult to make, those ones, because you just keep going. You sat here making like you fucking, and you kind of hair stand on end a bit, and your eyes fill with tears and stuff. You're like, oh, you got to keep fucking working through it and shit. And like that's when you know it's good. It's like every project I do has got one of those moments on it. Like, yeah, it was the same with my Theo Von song, I saw my dad in a dream. I was making that,
Yes.
and I kept going. And the Joey Diaz one, the same thing. And the Joey Diaz one, I knew before I started it was like, that's what I want, because that's that. Joey Diaz has this beautiful way of telling stories about his childhood and about just his history
Yeah.
that makes you really connect to it yourself and resonate with it and feel the similar sort of feelings. You know, it's like,
Yes.
so this is going to be a very nostalgic thing, and it's gonna, well, the Welsh have a word called hiraeth, which is means a kind of longing for your home, but like that doesn't now exist. It's a thing you can't get back. It doesn't exist anymore. It's this longing for a thing that's no longer there. It's like that's what a lot of the internet is.
Yes.
The internet's like a fucking nostalgia machine. Jared Lanier had this idea that no new culture had been invented since the internet, and the internet just remixed previous culture. I don't know how exactly true that is, but that's certainly a major component. And much of, and like, you know, lo-fi hip hop is a great example of this. It's this thing of taking stuff that was previously and putting it together in such a fashion that it creates these nostalgic feelings and creates a kind of hiraeth for a sort of a lost childhood or a lost home.
It does.
And that's the essence of Joey Diaz, and I knew that's what that record was going to be before I started it. And then I was a bit shocked at how quickly it just instantly was. Like the music I made around it was perfectly fit that vibe, almost too much, because I'm trying to make it go when he's like, when he starts does that thing about hashways.
Yes,
like talking about Joey Diaz talking about a fucking sandwich shop that like he used to go to, and like we all know that. And he's like, we all got a hashways, and it's yeah, we all do have a hashways.
We do have
I miss my nan. You know, whatever it is.
Yes, man.
We've all got a fucking place that was important to us in our childhood that we can never go back to, because you can never go back, because you can't go back because you don't exist anymore. As in that you doesn't exist anymore. You just have a memory of that you know.
And what do you think is that? It's almost like it doesn't exist, but in a way, it does. I don't know. Like,
well, there's the Kurt Vonnegut way of looking at it, right? Kurt Vonnegut in Sirens of Titan had this like way of describing time as being like Polaroids, that it like every moment is a Polaroid and it exists forever. That moment will always be there, but you're not in that moment anymore. You're creating another one. You're always creating another one. What was the other one? Grant Morrison's way of looking at it, like time is soil to grow universes in. Whoa. And I saw this once. I had this weird sort of vision when I was a kid. I went to Lower Bangor in Wales after school, and I sat down in the shopping centre. Just for this weird second, I had this weird little out-of-body sort of like nauseous, bizarre experience where I could see everything that ever had existed in that space and like ever would. And every person I saw, they were like a worm, like everywhere they'd been stretched out behind them. And every building was its foundation and as high as it got, and where it was destroyed all at once. It was like, outside of time, that's what everything is, I guess. You know? Like you are not the you there, you're the everywhere you went before, stretching back.
Yeah.
When you came out your mama, and the same with her, and the same with her, and the same with her. You know? There is only ever so, and it's like, you know, that's the Zen thing. And Alan Watts talks about that. There is only now. The future doesn't exist. The past doesn't exist. There is only now. And you're always in now. And a part of now.
Right.
Forever and ever, amen.
And then what if, so then memories, in a way, it's almost in a way tapping into the past, even though it doesn't exist.
Well, you know what I mean? No, but it does exist, because it's, you know, it's as it exists, but you can't occupy it while occupying now, right? So you can't be here in this moment and truly experience this moment and be useful in this moment if you're trying to be in another moment. But what you can do, what's that Peterson thing? You know, the purpose of memory is to bring forth stuff that would be useful in the present or
Yes.
going
Yeah.
forwards into the future, right? And then
Yeah.
once you've extracted that, you don't need it anymore. I sometimes think that's why I have a terrible memory, because I think I've been extracting it pretty well. So, okay, here's an example. Sometimes, you know, Terence McKenna has the idea of the archaic revival. Well, it's not his, but he talks about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
That sometimes in a period of culture, a lot of time with culture, we're boldly pushing forward, progress. And sometimes you have to go, oh, hang on a minute, and go back and get things that you left behind or lost or forgot about that you need now that are useful, right? And I've realized that music is a time machine with which to do that. And this goes back to what we were talking about earlier about the importance of maintaining connections with culture. Because anybody can hear a song that they were listening to when they first got their dick sucked or whatever, right? And they can go back to that moment in time and remember being that person or remember being at that school disco or remember being that kid, right? But if you stop listening to music and listening to new music and forging new connections, like, you can't go back to that time. So you can't go back and get something useful from that time. And there's always going to be something useful. You know, smells do a similar thing, but music is really good at it. And I think that's why lo-fi hip hop is so popular and why this whole nostalgia thing is so popular and why people, you know, people are so, they treasure Star Wars so much and they're so upset when Disney shits on it. Like, you know, that because you're perverting a pathway to appear, you're perverting a pathway. Aside from the whole mythological aspect of it, which is also incredibly important, obviously, which is what the Joseph Campbell album is about. But I did this for the recent record, for the Marcus Aurelius record. I realized there was some stuff I was doing when I first started producing music that I'd forgotten how to do. Because when I first started, I was making lots of mistakes, but some of those mistakes led to my sound. And they were what made those early songs special.
Yeah.
One of the very first songs I ever wrote and produced entirely was the one that was in that Uma Thurman movie. It was called "Oh, What a Glorious Thing." And I sampled the Nico record and threw some drums over the top and put some vinyl crackle noises and a few other things. I sang something and it was magical. And I was like, what space was I in? Like, how did I do that? I want that for this record. And then I was like, what was I listening to at the time? And I was like, oh yeah, I was listening to MF Doom. And it was that Food record. So I put that Food record on and I was transported back in time to the me that made those records. And then I was able to look around at the landscape of me at that time and be like, oh yeah, that was going on. There was that and that and that. And then bring that back. And then I was able to infuse that into the record I was making in January. And it worked, like very practically. I was very practically able to time travel to a period of my life and bring back the tools I needed today. So if you're continually making connections with culture in a way that you can then later on use that to time travel, you will have that time travel superpower for your whole life. But if you stop listening to new music or stop making cultural connections, you won't be able to do it.
I see.
You know? So yeah.
So it's almost like but to have that, you to continuously do that, you also have to have humility and have a bit of ego death in a way, because otherwise you'll just hold on to these are the greatest music.
Yes, exactly that.
And then but then you lose that time machine capability.
Yes, you lose that particular you'll lose that particular superpower, and also you will dull the pathways that you have, because you just listen to the same thing over and over and over and over and over, and that will erode those pathways. The tunnels will cave in.
Yeah.
And suddenly, because you'll be associating it with last week. You know, if you overuse that thing, if you listen to that record over and over and over and over and over that you listened to when you were 13, you'll stop. The memories of the 13 will fade. That pathway will erode, the tunnel or whatever, the roof will cave in. You won't be able to go there anymore. And you'll just have this thing, that's this overused thing that doesn't mean what it once did.
It's almost like when you were talking about the time machine. It's a time machine. It's almost like Google Earth for your brain, where you can
Yeah.
like transport back and you can like look around
Yeah, it is.
and relive it in a way.
Yeah. And here's the thing, the more in the moment you are in your life, so if you're in the moment and you've got some music or you've got some kind of cultural thing and you're in the moment, in the future, you'll be able to get back to that because you were in the moment. It created a tangible sort of access point in the map of your experience in life.
Oh,
right?
I see. Okay. Yeah, yeah.
So if you're not in the moment, if you're on your fucking phone in the club or whatever, you're not going to remember being in the club. I mean,
Yeah.
I see this a lot when I'm
Yeah.
DJing. It's
So
like
true.
people on the dance floor start fucking, it's ridiculous. People in the fucking dance floor start looking on Instagram and shit. And then you're seeing other people who are having a really intense, like transcendent experience, really plugged into the music and what's going on. Those people are going to be able to get back to that moment. They're going to be able to take the energy of that moment with them into their life going forward. But the people who are like on their phone or weren't paying attention or whatever, that moment's done. They'll never be able to get back to that moment. It's another thing. It's like how life speeds up.
Yes.
People always talk about life speeding up as you get older. It's because you're fucking not paying attention. You're not living in the moment. And it's because a lot of your life is getting turned into habit loops. And if you're not paying attention to those habit loops and disrupting them, your brain fast forwards through a habit loop. So if you're driving to work the same route every day, your brain's going to start fast forwarding through that because it knows what's coming.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're not disrupting that, if you're not going a different journey, or if you're not in the moment and paying attention and looking up and looking at the sky and looking at the buildings or whatever it is and seeing something new or whatever, your brain's just going to start fast forwarding through that shit and your life's going to speed up. And also you're never going to be able to travel back to that time if you need to.
Man, that's well, because I feel like that's kind of what's happening because I'm 29, I'm about to be 30, and I'm like, I feel like I have not accomplished nearly as much as I want to, and I feel like it's just not like so that's why I obviously I love the Meaningwave things, and then I'm looking into Stoicism and trying to increase my discipline so I can live more in the present. But do you feel like discipline not only equals freedom, but also equals time slowing down in a way?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Well, it forces that. It forces that. And you kind of resist it because it's easier not to.
Yes.
But it really does force that. If you're paying attention, if you're being disciplined, if you're if you're enacting your will, if you're allowing your will to overtake these animal impulses to be lazy or whatever it is, or animalistic, then that's a much more vivid experience. You know, those moments when you I am not gonna have the third coffee of the day, or I'm not gonna eat the bad thing, or I'm not gonna whatever it is, you remember that's more of a vivid experience. So it's more real, so it's more present. So it will elongate your lifespan. B, it will give you more power to maneuver through your life and access bits that are useful across your life. Because you say, oh, I haven't achieved as much as I would want to or whatever, but you've going to have done loads of stuff that's really useful for what you want to do now. Like most people have, but a lot of the time they don't realize that, and they don't therefore access it and use it to do what they want to do. Scott Adams has that idea of the talent stack, right? You know that one?
No, I don't.
So rather than picking one thing and being really, really good at it, what can actually be useful is having a bunch of complementary things that are unique to you. So for me, for example, I can write songs, I can rap, I can produce, I can engineer, I can do graphic design, I can edit video, I can do public speaking, I can DJ, That means I'm a fucking lethal weapon because I can do all of this stuff that's interconnected versus one person who's just can produce. Or one person who can just do Photoshop or whatever, right? So you've going to have done a whole bunch of stuff in your life that will be useful ammunition or tools for you to do whatever you want to do going forward. You just got to access it, be able to access it, and and pull it together. You've done a load of stuff, like a load of stuff that maybe might seem like a waste, like times been up till 5 a.m. reading about Prometheus for 4 years before it came out. There's actually a use for that. You could find a use for that. Maybe what you know, there's gold in them there hills. You just gotta mine those motherfuckers.
And that, I mean, and to that, I feel like that's what the Wubba Lubba Lo-Fi is, or that's the only reason, you know, like that Zelda plus Studio Ghibli. It's like me playing video games when I was, you know, 10 to 15 for fucking 10 hours a day, and it was mostly Zelda.
Yeah.
I feel like that was a way, now that I'm a musician, I combined the two, and I was like, did I just waste all my fucking time playing video games? But if I hadn't have played all those video games, there's no way I would have been able to make that mix as
You
hard
wouldn't have that
as
deep knowledge which cannot be faked. You know, I could do a Zelda mix and it would be pretty dope. But if I was just like, I don't have the knowledge that you do, so I wouldn't know all the right samples to pick, or like all, you know, the complementary sequences or whatever it is that you do. Only you have that. Well, I mean, other people who play Zelda do, but you've also got a love of lo-fi, so that's 2 things. And 3, you've got an ability to put together mixes, so that's another complementary talent stack skill. And you've got a YouTube channel that you've actually worked on, and it's got a bit of an audience, so that's another thing that other people don't have. So you're like, oh, all these things that you have, there's a whole bunch of them. You know, if you just go all in on that, if you go, okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, the games that really emotionally meant something to me, I'm going to make like records based around those, or mixes, and that's all I'm going to do. And there'll be a whole load of other people who felt the same, and you'll reach those people. And because you're so pure in your passion and in what you're executing, and it's so real and true to the truth of you, it will resonate with other people, and it will be way more powerful than if you're like, oh, this is hot right now, I should do this, or that would be a kind of cool thing to do, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
And just keep thinking, going deeper and deeper on what else was going on at that time. Well, maybe you can incorporate some of that stuff into it. Like, you know, maybe there's other things. Oh, that nostalgia shit is so fucking powerful.
Yeah.
But it's you want to, you know, it's a fucking super powerful drug. You know, so just doing that, you'll do well. But if you can combine that, like I was saying, with like 20% of moving forward and giving someone something new. And in the context, that's why the lo-fi hip hop like thinks it's like, oh, it's this thing I love plus a new beat.
Yeah. You know, or
exactly. Like, or like plus it's like extended that sample and kind of just made it more epic, and then it's pulled in that bit and holy shit, so on and so forth. So it's like, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, hell yeah. I absolutely do that. And it's end the DJ set. So I guess I'm gonna have to buy some. I buy some DJ stuff. That's what I'll do with it.
What to DJ on?
Yeah, to DJ on. I don't really know what to get for DJ stuff, to be honest with you. I guess because it's like, I don't know. I did look into turntablism when I was younger. I always thought it was so badass. You know, back in the 90s, I used to I watched a lot of the DJs do the turntablism, and I thought it was pretty incredible actually, because it used to be I guess it used to be like the fifth instrument or something. You know, it was like the additional instrument. And do you do any turntablism when you're playing live in the DJ sets?
Yeah. Well, no. I don't use vinyl. I started on that. That was the first thing I I started on cassette, and then vinyl, and then CD, and then digital. But in my live setup, I do a lot of I do that kind of stuff, but I do it with a lot of different pads and things. So I do a lot of live remixing and sample triggering and sound manipulation and combining lots of different things and stuff. I don't do the wiggity what because I'm not skilled enough at that, because I didn't put in the time to learn to be really good at that turntable aspect. I was talking to a guy I know the other day who's a young DJ in the LA scene, and he's been pushing for a while to try and get in and get to do similar things to what I was doing in the LA club thing. And he's now DJing at the same place as I am on the Friday. And he was like, you know, I always really loved what you were doing, and I'm playing some kind of similar music, but I was like, I want to differentiate myself, you know. And he's really good at scratching. So it's like, he's going to be incorporating that as his thing. And he's like learning little routines and techniques. So he might be playing, you know, 50% of the same songs as other people, because you playing a club DJ set, people are going to want to hear certain songs, you know?
Yeah.
But how do you make yourself individual and stick out? So his thing is he's going to be doing turntablism, scratchy type stuff.
Nice.
You know,
nice.
and
Very
that's
cool.
Yeah, and I have my thing, which is different stuff, you know. So it's like, you pick a thing, you know, you can pick a thing and you can learn it. You could learn turntablism if you just did an hour or two of it every day for the next year. This time next year, you'd be fucking good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you'd be good enough to do stuff publicly in a few months, and you'd be very good in about a year. You know, so you could do it. You just got to pick a thing and do it.
Yeah.
And you only have so much time and so much energy. And also, I find that you don't want to be trying to learn too many new things at once. So, like, it's usually good to do one thing, get that going, then introduce another thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what? I don't know if it'd be. Well, what is your 5-year vision for Meaningwave right now, or 3 to 5 year? I don't know. Like,
Yeah,
what is
basically,
your
we get, like, you know, currently it's doing well on a cult level, perhaps, shall we say?
Yeah.
It's reaching like 0.00001% of the people who would enjoy it and find it useful. So it's, you know, just get it to the people that need it. So it's a two-pronged thing of staying in the zone, keeping up and increasing the productivity and the quality and all of that, and getting it to arena level.
Oh, that's awesome.
Because, you know, that's people want it. The thing I see every day is people discovering and going, I had no idea I needed this in my life. I had no idea like this existed. And yeah, you know, people find it and they're like, wow, this is fucking really useful and unlike what I previously had. And then they're like, you know, they can't imagine a world without it.
Yeah.
And that's the small amount of people finding it every day, and it's sort of growing and growing and growing. You know, we don't have any marketing budget, we don't have PR, we don't have any of that. Everything's word of mouth. It's people like you telling other people about it, and people posting things on their Instagram stories or whatever the hell it is, you know. And that's how it's grown. I was very frustrated for a long time. I'd be like, spend ages making a record, put it out, and then not as many people heard it as I would like because, you know, I didn't have PR or an agent or any of that. And I was a bit angry and bitter for a while. Then I was like, but the thing is, every time I put something out, the people who hear it really like it. So I just need to put out more.
Yeah.
And get it better and better and better and better and better. Like, a week is a long time in the internet. You put something out on Friday, by next Friday, it feels like a long time ago, and people are listening to another thing.
Yeah.
But if I can keep putting things out, if I can put a new thing out every week, because people want to hear a new thing every week, and I can do it at a high level of quality, then it can only grow. You know, and that's what I've said. That's what's been happening.
Absolutely.
You know, so it's cool. So yeah, grow, reach the people that need it, bring it to the people that need it, because people need it. People find it when they get it in their lives, they find it useful, and it helps them to become better versions of their self and closer to their potential.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think that we can all come way closer to our potential in this lifetime than we think we can. David Goggins is always talking about that. You know, his idea that there's this, you know, God has a book, and the book's got all the potential versions of yourself in it. And so when you die, you go to heaven, and God's like, well, you got to, you know, you ticked 4 out of the 10 boxes or whatever. You did pretty good in this lifetime. Maybe, and the Egyptian would say, you go back and do it again and again until you get it right or whatever, right? David Goggins is like, I want to shock God. I want to, like, God to be like, holy shit, you had all this stuff down for you to do, but then you did this extra stuff. You know what I mean? Like that's David Goggins. He's an extreme motherfucker. And
Yes.
yeah, I think why not? I mean, I think all of us actually, we have the tools now. It used to be that, you know, the wisdom of the ages existed in different places. And maybe there was one bit in a library over there and another bit in a culture over there, and never the twain would meet. But now we're all networked together in this practical, physical, visceral way through the internet. We have access to all these ideas and all this wisdom and all this stuff. And it's now possible for us, you know, to have Eastern philosophy and Stoicism and various schools of thought and practical stuff and physicality and nutritional knowledge and all these fucking things. We can bring it all together. And music is one way of incorporating all this stuff in a way that we can integrate it. So that's what I'm working on.
Beautiful, beautiful.
We can get there.
Have you what are your thoughts on being on the Joe Rogan show? Have you like reached out to them, or have they reached out to you yet?
No, I haven't reached out to them. It's the thing that people talk about a lot, and I'm sure it will happen at the right time.
I hope so, and
I'm sure it will.
I would love to see you guys.
I'm sure it will. I mean, you know, I've done like 3 Rogan songs. I have a bunch more which are unreleased, and I have the material for a couple of albums I want to do.
Yeah.
You know, so when I get in touch with that camp, that will happen. You know, those songs aren't on Spotify currently because I haven't been able to get in touch with them to clear it yet. But I haven't really tried very hard. I like filled in a form on the website and did that. It's like one of these things. I kind of feel these things will naturally happen when the time is right.
Yeah.
If you just keep doing the work and, you know, if enough people like the stuff and send it to him, he'll eventually see it, you know?
Oh, I'm sure. Absolutely. Because I mean, the Jordan Peterson podcast that you did, I mean,
Yeah.
that was a huge milestone. And I mean, that to me, that looked, that was awesome. And it was an amazing podcast too. To learn
Thanks.
from.
Yeah, that was great. And that was very naturally done. That happened very naturally. I did the stuff and it came to his attention and he tweeted it a bit, and I wrote to him and asked him if I could do an album, and he said, yeah, sure. And then he liked that, and then that just grew. And then, you know, I did like 3 or 4 albums, a high quality that were good, that people found useful. And then he reached out and asked me if I'd like to be on his podcast. You know, that was a very natural thing. Awesome. I wasn't badgering him or anything like that. I just did the work and it was useful and the people liked it. And, you know.
Absolutely. I mean, with the well, and what are your thoughts right now on Jordan, like on his current state? Because
we'll see what he's about to reemerge, isn't he?
I feel like, have you heard anything?
Yeah, there'll be an announcement, I think, at the end of this week.
Really?
Yeah.
About do you think is it about ThinkSpot or just about him in general?
About him in general. ThinkSpot is a part of, I think he'll be using that platform for stuff. But yeah, expect a Phoenix-like heroic comeback. Yeah. His whole thing has been this just perfectly executed. And it's funny, like, you know, you couldn't script it any better.
No.
If you were just fucking writing the thing as a fictional story. I mean, I always said this about him. He was like, he had that 50 Cent quality of, like the way 50 Cent blew up was through these very sort of public drama incidents that drew people in. And then he had this big catalog of like great music. You know, when people first started paying attention to 50 Cent in a big way, and it was all like getting shot and all that stuff. Yeah. He had like 5 classic street mixtapes. So really? When people, he already had these that he'd been doing with G Unit and stuff. Like when he got shot 9 times or whatever it was, like he'd already been through 2 record deals that fucked up, and he'd already put out a load of like really popular street level popular records. And when Peterson kind of first became known over the Bill's C69 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Can't can't remember what it was called thing. He already had like 2 years worth of like amazing lectures on YouTube that have been doing pretty well and had a cult following.
Right. That's right.
So it's like you have this drama, you draw people in, they see the existing catalog, and then Peterson just continued to have like major league dramas about once a month for a couple of years, which is also what 50 Cent did. And then he got taken out of the game. He had a catastrophic like life occurrence, like really fucking awful, tragic thing.
Yeah.
Happened, you know, and then he had to go away, and then people are like, where's he gone? And then suddenly, whereas once there'd been people like, oh, there's too much of this guy. I'm seeing this guy all the time. So you don't see him for ages, and then people want to know what's going on. And people want to see him. So just like on that kind of level, it's fucking perfect because. You know.
Wait, so let me. So are you saying that everything beforehand has just been his street level mixes, and this is him emerging from the getting shot period?
Yeah.
Damn. So you think he's gonna just like boom? Yeah,
that's one way. I mean, that's one way of looking at it. Bear in mind, this is a guy who could, if he wanted, be Prime Minister of Canada.
Yeah.
Like he could. He could. There is a huge desire for that. There is the infrastructure for that. There's like he could go that route if he wanted, or he could do something way bigger than that. I kind of feel like I always said, politics is downstream from culture. What he's successfully done so far is he's been engaging in culture, and the bits that I think that have been negative to his existence and message and everything have been the political bits. You know. There's a lot of people who fucking hate him just because of politics, but were the exact things he was saying coming out of the mouth of someone else, they would love that person.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not a huge fan. I'm not a fan of. I don't think anybody who really loves Jordan Peterson is a fan of identity politics and how much it's eroded, you know, the culture in its own ways. But it's like I know you said
that's
you're not
peaking this summer. What's that?
I'm sorry. I know you said that you're not that political, but I did kind of want to get your thoughts on that too.
Well, I think that's peaking this summer.
Or you think like it's going to peak and then that's it? It's going to just go down like identity politics?
Yeah. And it'll come back again. It always does. Bear in mind, you know, we saw that this happened in the 90s. We had a very politically correct sort of wave in the 90s that went up and then it fell back again. And then these things always happen like that. It goes, you can't keep just ratcheting because what's happened here's a way of breaking it down. All right, so 2013, shall we say, an ideological sort of school of thought that has come to be called social justice warriors or post-Marxism or whatever it is. They start gaining prominence in certain areas. They've been busily working away in the universities for a long time, but they start coming into prominence in other areas. They start coming into comic books. That was one place they started popping up quite early. Around 2013, in the world of comics, they start appearing. They start gender swapping and race swapping sort of beloved cartoon comic book characters, and anyone who doesn't like that is called a racist and a bigot. That's around 2013, and the way they get away with it is they go, hey normies, what do you think of Hitler? And the normies go, oh, we don't like Hitler. And they go, yeah, we don't like Hitler, we're against Hitler. And the normies go, oh, okay, you're like me. And then they go, you know, do you like sexism, do you like racism? And everyone goes, no, I don't like that. And the normies go, oh, okay, so you're like me. You're okay, we'll let you do what you're doing. So they gain more and more power and influence. And but what's started happening over the past year or so is the normies have started going, hang on, these people aren't just that they don't like Hitler, because I don't like Hitler, and nobody likes Hitler. So running a platform on like, do you like Hitler or not? That's really like, no one likes Hitler. So you go, okay, cool. But then you start going, when people have started noticing, oh, hang on, you're actually bullies and you're totalitarians and you're mean. And like, you're actually the bad guys. Hang on, you're the bad guys. You're doing bad guy things. And all the characters you write, they're not heroic. They're actually bad guys. People start noticing this stuff. Basically, normies now have started to notice that the people they thought were the good guys are actually the bad guys. So that means it's curtains for them.
Yeah.
They can't continue. So it means that their power is already starting to evaporate. And I think what will happen is that this summer, a combination of things will reach a fever pitch, and the tide will then roll back. And one of the things will be the American election, because the current president will get reelected. And
you're calling it.
Well, what happened last time is, the last time I saw that he was going to come in, because it was quite obvious if you were paying attention and not just like believing what the problem. Here's the thing. So if 12 weirdos on Twitter are dictating policy, this happened in Britain this year with the general election. Labour in the UK kind of put its whole platform around the desires of 12 angry blue head check marks on Twitter. Noisy, angry, unpleasant people. They didn't represent the majority or the base, and certainly not the working class base that had made up that political party's voters for like hundreds of years. They turned their back basically on those people because they thought Twitter was real life, and Twitter isn't real life. It's a distortion. It's an elaborate distortion. And in 2016, a lot of people's brains broke because they were told the world was one way, and then they woke up and the world wasn't that way, and it didn't make sense to them. So cognitive dissonance sort of shattered the realities of a fucking lot of people.
Yeah.
And they never got over it. Same happened with Brexit, did the same thing in the UK, and Trump election did that in America. It just shattered the realities of a bunch of people who just believed what the news had told them, or believed what the people they followed on Twitter were saying, or whatever, But what will happen this year is Orange Man Bad will get reelected. And that will cause a bit of closure for some people, because a lot of people have been in this state of denial. This can't be real. And then it's like, all right, we can get rid of him somehow. And they were told, here's this Russianist thing, Russian collusion. Oh, we can believe that. That will save us. That will save our reality, our self-congruence.
Right.
Our self-image. No one likes, there's this, if you ever read about persuasion, no one likes to go against their own self-image. So if you're a car salesman, if you can get someone to say that, hey, this is a good car, they're more likely to buy it because they've said it's a good car. Social media is a public proclamation extraction machine. So if you've gone on Twitter and said, I think this, then you've got to fucking stand by that. And if that thing you said goes in the face of reality, you're just going to have to hallucinate a new reality rather than go against your own self-belief,
Yeah.
So that's what's been going on. A lot of people have just been in this kind of suspended state of rejecting reality. In Britain, it was people who were just like rejecting the reality of Brexit. And in America, it's people rejecting the reality of President Donald Trump.
Right.
President Donald Trump gets in for another 4 years. They're just going to have to accept that. And then they can start focusing on what comes afterwards. They go, okay, they'll stop. A lot of people will stop kind of like focusing on this idea that he could be removed, that there's Russian collusion, that it's whatever it is.
Right.
And they can just start kind of accepting the reality and looking to the future and building something real again. So they can fall out of this like nightmare that they've been living in and fall back into a more of a shared reality with everyone else. Scott Adams has this thing where he talks about 2 movies, 1 screen, right? He's like, everyone's looking at the same screen. They're seeing the same information, they're seeing the same interviews or whatever, but they're perceiving a completely different movie. That seems to have been going on across the Western world.
Yes.
But I think this summer the movies will start meshing back together again.
That makes good
and what that will do, and sorry, but then to go back to the beginning of the question, that will the power of the identity politics brigade will just kind of evaporate. Their power, the Wizard of Oz nature of their power will be seen. People were scared of them for a long time.
Yes.
And now you're starting to see people being cancelled people doing okay. People were scared of being cancelled, and now it's like, oh, Dave Chappelle's doing all right.
Yeah.
Joe Rogan's still here. Like, all these people who are supposedly cancelled, they're doing okay, and some of them are actually thriving. And like,
Yep.
it used to be that if you looked on Twitter, someone in one of these sort of cancelled statement tweets or whatever, the replies would all be from that ideological area. Now it's loads of normies laughing at them. You know, like, people have stopped being as scared now. And even though people are getting arrested in some countries and losing their jobs and all this kind of nightmarish Orwellian weirdness, like, people have had enough of it. And the biggest tool you have to fight that sort of weirdness is humor. And people are just mocking them and taking the piss out of them mercilessly now. And you're seeing it everywhere. And so, yeah, shit's going to be okay.
Absolutely.
It's been a really weird time, and we documented it so thoroughly, right? Because we were all here, and there was YouTube, and everyone was giving their opinion, and it was incredibly thoroughly documented versus the last time it happened in the 90s. And also it was disseminated far wider. Also, the repercussions were easier to see, and also they were able to destroy lives in a way they hadn't been able to before.
Right.
Because you can start these, remember, what was her name? Jessica or something? That woman who got on a plane and made an AIDS joke.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And she got off the plane and her life was over.
Yeah.
You couldn't do that in the 90s. What's that?
She took Ambien and then she started tweeting, and then she just fell asleep in the plane. And
yeah, she said some tweet about something like, "Oh, I'm going to Africa, hoping to get AIDS," or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Then she gets up on the other side, and like, Twitter had fucking destroyed her life.
Yes.
In the time of the, like, you couldn't do that before. That was a superpower that was not available to humans in the 90s. You know, so that exists now. But the opposite of it also exists now, and now people are aware it exists. They're aware, you know. In social justice kangaroo courtland, there is no such thing as redemption, or you are guilty forever, and that just doesn't sit well with humanity. The general human, we like comeback stories, we like redemption. All of our favorite stories and myths have these tales of redemption in them. You know, you're not guilty forever. You can be redeemed. You can, you know. We love that. We love to see someone pick themselves up and come back strong and what have you. So in destroying people and canceling people, they've just created tons of opportunity for redemption stories.
That's true. I didn't think of it that way. Other than Jordan Peterson, because obviously he's like the epitome of the redemption story. Or I guess he's going to have a double redemption story now.
Oh, he's got a bunch. You know.
And I have a question for you, because I know we're both musicians, and this is something I've been pondering. And do you think it's possible to be racist and a musician? This is out of left field, I know. Is that a possibility? Like, to truly, truly love music and be racist, is that possible?
I don't know. I think I understand where you're getting at with that. I've never really known anyone very racist.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, I don't even know if like people are racist. I think people have like less life experience than other people or whatever, and they blame things for problems in their life. I used to live in an area of East London which was changed quite radically by immigration. And I would go to some of these pubs and talk to the local geezers. And they would talk about how the fucking Packies had fucking destroyed their neighborhood, and they were out there raping people and rah, 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 rah. I wouldn't say they were racist. They'd had life experiences which led to them to certain conclusions. Yeah. They hadn't spent loads of time in fucking India or wherever around like regular ass Indian people.
Yeah.
You know, they just had some bad personal life experiences that led them to think in a certain way. And when I would talk to them, oftentimes I would talk to them and I would, you know, sort of give them ideas they hadn't thought about before with regards to where their frustrations truly came from and what was the real cause of their suffering. And just like half-hour conversations with people would turn so-called racists into non-racists quite
Yes.
quickly, because they just hadn't thought of things before. So I don't know.
Yes.
I don't
Yes.
even necessarily believe in the idea of racists as like this evil type of humor that
Right.
exists or whatever. I don't, you know.
I agree. I mean, because it's like, this is probably a bad example, but it's a very personal example. But okay, well, I'm with you on the sense of like I it's like, because especially with now with the ridiculous SJW notion of, if you're labeled a racist, that's it. You can't you can't learn, you can't progress. There's no redemption if you're labeled a racist or whatever, and which I think is just an atrocity. There's no path to redemption. You forever will be known as a racist, which is just completely absurd and stupid. And it's like, I like the musician idea, because it's like I love Jimi Hendrix, but I also love Stevie Ray Vaughan. I love, they're like, it's like physically, I think with knowledge and understanding of people, like there's no way you can really, there's no way, it's like there's no way you can really be racist. Maybe those are just preconceived notions that you just need to understand people better and see it from a different perspective. That's probably a better way to approach it, rather than just labeling somebody something and then that's it, and then they're just a bad person forever. You
Yeah,
know,
I mean,
that
that's just silly. That's just very childish.
it's ridiculous.
It's a very childish way of looking at the world, and it's either comes from a radical absence of empathy, or it comes from willful, vindictive, like nastiness.
Yeah.
You know, some people are actively vindictive and nasty and want to cause problems and destroy people's lives, and they will use these ideas as ways to do that. They enjoy the power. Oh, I can fucking destroy someone's life. There's people who jump out of bed and they can't wait to get on Twitter and find something to be pissed off about so they can destroy someone's life.
Ooh.
And then there's other people who are just a bit fucking haven't thought it all the way through. There's well-meaning people. There's really good, well-meaning people who want a better world and truly believe in sort of justice and believe in equality or whatever it is, believe in any kind of egalitarianism, and they just haven't thought it all the way through. I find that quite a lot. I'll talk to people and they just haven't gone to the next logical progression of that idea and what it leads to. That's why Peterson pissed off so many people, because that was Peterson's whole thing. He's like, this leads to fucking death and horror and misery.
Yes.
And these people are like, no, I'm a goody goody. That couldn't possibly. I'm good. What I'm doing is nice. I want, I'm a goody goody. That's why, Alan Watts' whole idea of the most terrifying thing being the virtuous. True virtue, as Lao Tzu had his whole thing, true virtue doesn't speak its name. If you're doing something from true virtue, you don't think you're virtuous. You're just doing it because it's the right thing to do. You're going around like, I am virtuous and now I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
That's scary, because those people will do evil things. The people who think they're goody goodies and they're publicly, I'm a goody goody, look, they're the people who'll put people in fucking camps. They're the people, I mean, you see it every day on Twitter or whatever, is like people calling for the fucking rounding up of people they don't like. When we're in power, we'll kill all the racists, all these baddies that we don't like, we'll wipe them out, we'll destroy them, not realizing the fucking craziness of the double of the inverted thing that's going on there. And that's why they didn't like Peterson, because Peterson was showing that to people. So the actually evil ones recognize, and the easily manipulated could just go along with, oh, well, he's bad because of his anogeny of some kind, an ism or an anogeny. But it doesn't hold up to scrutiny,
Right.
Anyone who thinks about these things for more than 5 minutes ends up at the same conclusion. So again, we get to this point that like this evil anti-human ideology that's been coming out of the universities. When normies think about it for a bit, you're the racists because you're the ones who see everything in terms of race. I was just a normie going about my business. I like fucking Mike Tyson and Kobe Bryant and Jimi Hendrix and whatever the fuck it is, and I'm just a human. And you're literally seeing everything in fucking terms of race and power and class and this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
You're fucking you're the racists. You're evil and crazy and mental, and I reject your bizarre anti-human ideology because I love my family and I love my community, and you can go fuck yourself.
There you go.
You know?
I love that.
People know they've been trying to convince everybody that they're evil for ages, and most people aren't going to go along with that because for obvious fucking reasons. And I just feel really bad for the people who have been washed up in it. There's a whole generation of people who just like it's the it's the Nietzschean death of God problem. It's a cult and a religion. You know, the social justice thing has become a cult and a religion.
Yeah.
Totally. It's a cliche to say at this point, but I keep seeing it yesterday I was in the coffee shop. I saw the cover of the LA Times had something about it literally had it in the headline, some city in America forced to deal with its sin because there was some racist incidents there 30 years ago or something. It's literally saying sin in the headline. You know, it's this original sin idea. Like if you're white, you have an original sin of that. If you're male, you have an original sin of that. If you're female in some fashion, you have that original sin. It's this whole religious framework, but without any of the redemption and without any of the spirituality in the soul that was in most religions. So that kind of a religion can't last for very long because it doesn't have the things that people really want from a religion. Man is a religious animal. We know this to be true, but this new religion of politics and social justice and what have you doesn't have the core thing that people want from a religion and go to a religion for. You know, you join a religion, and if after a couple of weeks you're like, hang on, these people are just fucking doing human sacrifices and shit. Like, I'm not getting anything out of it. These people are actually weirdos. I made a mistake, and they go off. You know, a few people will remain, and they'll drink the Kool-Aid and fucking die in a mass suicide. But only a few of them. You can't get a whole country to do that.
Right? No, hell no.
Well.
Oh well.
Well, we have had a few examples in history where that has happened. So, and again, that's what Peterson has been warning us about. Yes. But I would say in an interconnected, radically enlightened internet age, which we are in, pretty difficult to do that.
Thanks to people, thanks to Meaningwave, thanks to Joe Rogan, thanks to the intellectual dark web.
Thanks to anybody who fucking clicks a video that isn't on the front page of YouTube.
Right.
Thanks to anybody who like looks into, who allows their interest to take them into an area outside of the front page of YouTube or the front, whatever's the main thing on cable TV. And that's most people.
Yeah.
I know. People are way smarter than they're given credit for.
Who are some of your favorite philosophers?
Well, I mean, you will hear them in the music.
Yes, of course.
You know, and you will hear more of them being introduced as we go in. I have a big list and a big sort of plan of how to integrate all these things and how to get to certain points. Nice. You know, the reason we're at Joseph Campbell now is because the ground had to be laid so that people would understand it, you know, when it happened.
Okay.
You know, I couldn't have put out this Joseph Campbell album 2 years ago. Most people wouldn't have been able to. Most people wouldn't have got it, you know.
That's true.
But hopefully, if you've listened to Watts and Peterson and Goggins and a few other things, like, it will make sense.
Absolutely. So and Akira, how much time do I have for you? Because I want to be.
I was just going to say we've run over quite radically.
Okay.
So yeah, I need to get on with this album.
Okay.
But you got anything that sort of that you haven't got to that you really wanted to get to?
We got through so much. The only thing is maybe I wanted to ask about your monetization strategy, because I don't think ever talked about. I don't know if you've ever talked about that specifically,
No.
but I also don't know if you want to talk about that.
I'm happy to talk about that. I mean, the simple way of putting it, I guess, is that in the modern world, there are just a million ways to make money from what you do that didn't exist previously. In a previous age, if you wanted to be an artist, you had to be doing it at the behest of the king. You had to be like making fucking paintings about how great the king was or whatever, or making songs about how great the king was, right?
Right.
Then along comes capitalism, and suddenly you could like sell a thing. You could write some sheet music and sell it to a band, or there's suddenly you can exist and create stuff outside of patronage of the super rich, which means you're only ever going to be able to really communicate stuff that they want you to. And that happens for a while, and it's still pretty tricky because, like, I remember Terence Trent D'Arby saying he was a black British R&B musician who was nearly very famous, and he claims that Prince and Michael Jackson got together to crush his career because there were only 12 Rolling Stone covers a year, and only two of those for black guys. So you couldn't have a third black guy.
That's crazy.
In that ecosystem. So according to him, they combined forces to destroy it. Now, we don't have that anymore. Now you can be young, lean, and be a Swedish oddball rapper and have millions of fans, and most people don't know who the fuck you are.
Yes, it's true.
And then, so that means that it's now like, it's about like sort of micro, you can make a little bit of money, say me, I'm on YouTube and Spotify and all these things. I can make a bit of money from YouTube. I can make a bit of money from Spotify. I can make a bit of money from iTunes. I can make a bit of money from Patreon. I can make a bit of money from DJing. I can make a bit of money from publishing. I can make a bit of money from, there's lots and lots of like little bits,
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be do lots and lots of little bits. What is it, Warren Buffett's thing? He's like, you need 7 income streams. Like on a billionaire level, you need 7 income streams. In case one of them fucks up. If I was just relying on YouTube could kick me off tomorrow.
Yeah.
If I was just relying on DJing, I could break my arm. So that's part of the reason I did that Naval album.
Yes, I love
the
that
How
album.
to Get Rich Part 1, Part 2 is coming later this year. It's just practical guides on how to not be fucking broke. Because there's actually no reason to be broke anymore, because there's so much opportunity because of the internet. There's so many ways for you to exist off of doing what you're good at and what makes your heart sing, or as Joseph Campbell would say, is your bliss.
Yes.
And to not do that is actually a bad thing. That's actually like anti-human. If you're going to be, if you're going to be a burden on the society, that's not, you're not going to be, you're not being useful in the way you need to. You should be work to get yourself in a position where you're adding to the world, and you're not kind of reliant on the world to hold you up.
Yes.
It's possible to do that now for so many more people than it was before. I know it's not for everybody yet, but I would say fucking most people who are bitching and moaning about like things not going their way or whatever, like they could be doing whatever they wanted. It's, as you were talking about, it's a case of adopting radical self-responsibility. Like, what's that fucking quote I heard the other day? It's like, if you're born poor, it's not your fault, but if you die poor, it is.
Yeah. Well, that's a great quote. Wow.
Yeah.
It's very
powerful. I don't know who said that, but that's pretty much true. In most cases now, I would say that is true. Yes. We have so much fucking opportunity here. Anyone with an internet connection has more opportunity than the biggest sort of publisher 40 years ago. It's fucking insane. I mean, it's one of these things, if you think about it for more than 3 minutes, your fucking head will start popping off. The fucking opportunity. It's wild. and it's difficult. No one ever said it was easy,
Right,
but
right.
life has never been easy. At one point, we had to fucking wrestle tigers. You know, we used to have to fucking hide up trees with fucking rocks and drop them on the fucking heads of beasts, or just fucking starve up in that fucking tree. You know, like,
That's right.
life's never been easy. In fact, life now is easier than it's ever been for more people than it has ever been. You know, there is more opportunity now, there's more comfort now, and comfort is a fucking dangerous thing. You know,
Yes, absolutely.
comfort will have you not taking advantage of this hitherto unimaginable historic opportunity. Comfort will have you staying in a job that you hate, or making yourself ill and sick and overweight, or whatever it is. And comfort will have you actually being uncomfortable when you don't need to be.
There you go.
Yeah. So that's the trick. That's the danger we face. But the opportunity is just fucking crazy. Yeah,
And
anyway.
and I think we'll end it there. That's because it's an amazing place to end it. And I want to be, you know, very careful with your time, because obviously it's very precious. So and I'm really, really thankful to have you, man. I'm thank you so much for giving me your time and for doing this. It's like, it's been super learning, a great learning experience for me. And you know, hope to meet
Great.
you in person someday soon, you know, so, and wish you the very best, and best
Thank
of
you,
luck
brother.
with everything.
Yeah, well, likewise. And yeah, on a practical level, why don't you put me together a zip of Zelda tracks or something, and I'll do a Zelda mix and link it back to your YouTube or something like that.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I'll send
Right.
you also, I'll send you some, just one or two Earthbound tracks.
Yes, that as well. Do that as well. So yeah, do that. Send me like a gang of like themed tracks, whether it's Zelda or what's your other. It's Zelda, right? Oh, you got Evangelion.
Yeah, yeah.
Send me some themed bundles, and I'll just do a live. I'll do a couple of live mixes with that stuff, and just for fun.
Okay.
And send me some Earthsail. Was it Earthbound? Send me some
Earthbound. Yes, 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 absolutely. And if you do ever have like a, you know, 30 minutes to play it, I would highly suggest it. It's fucking amazing. But I will. I will.
What's it on? It's a Nintendo thing, isn't it?
Yeah, SNES. It's
Yeah, I
SNES.
don't have a SNES.
Okay.
I've got a PlayStation 4. I'm a savage.
There you go. Awesome, man. Well, again, thank you so much, and I wish you the best, and I can't wait to see like the amazing things that I know are going to happen this year for you and what you're going to put out. I'm like on the edge of my seat with every release, so I'm excited.
Awesome. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you.
Absolutely, man. Well, thank you, and we'll talk to you soon.